All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you've spent, any time at all exploring the lore of this incredible universe, you already know the Uchiha Clan is absolutely legendary. I mean, their iconic fan symbol literally strikes fear into the hearts of rival nations, and honestly, their battlefield dominance is completely unmatched. But behind that striking aesthetic, the crazy fire-breathing jutsu, and just their overwhelming presence, there's a generational story that is profoundly heartbreaking. So today, we're going to break down the really complex mechanics of their rise to power and the devastating, almost inevitable nature of their fall.
Which really brings us to the core question we're tackling today. What makes the Uchiha clan so powerful, yet so doomed? For years, fans have been totally captivated by this exact paradox. So we're going to unpack how their unmatched biological power is inextricably linked to this profound psychological vulnerability. It's this fascinating, albeit tragic, intersection of nature and nurture. And to really understand how this clan operated, we gotta look at the very source of their legendary strength.
Section 1. The power of the Sharingan. To understand their tragedy, we first need to establish the awe-inspiring nature of their signature visual prowess, the Sharingan.
And the sheer variety of ways this visual power manifests is genuinely staggering. It's like every elite user unlocks an ability perfectly tailored to make them an unstoppable force. Take Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the legendary Sage of Six Paths. He evolves it into the godlike Rinnegan. Then you've got Madara Uchiha, using it for those invisible limbo clones and massive world-altering genjutsu. And man, there's Itachi, right? His Tsukuyomi can trap enemies in what feels like literal days of agonizing psychological torture in mere seconds of real time. Obito leverages Kamui to manipulate space-time, basically becoming physically untouchable. And then there's Kakashi, who isn't even an Uchiha by blood, using a gifted eye to copy over 1,000 jutsus and eventually summon a towering, perfect Susanoo. Basically, the Sharingan is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of combat, turning its wielders into one-man armies.
But here's the critical catch. Unlocking the ultimate form of this power, the Mangekyo Sharingan, requires an unimaginable personal price. It doesn't just happen through intense physical training or, repetitive drilling. No way. It requires extreme psychological stress or the direct emotional loss of witnessing someone you dearly love die. When an Uchiha experiences this profound agony, a special chakra is actually released in their brain, and it reacts with their optic nerves to mutate their eyes. So the absolute greatest heights of their power are strictly gatekept by profound, inescapable despair.
Section 2. The Curse of Hatred. Now, let's shift to the psychological core of the Uchiha, a deeply ingrained ancestral grudge.
Okay, so here's a closely guarded secret of their biology. The Uchiha actually feel love and compassion more intensely than anyone else in this world, but when they lose that love, the psychological recoil is absolutely devastating. That immense affection twists into a blinding, destructive thirst for vengeance. The really crucial point here is that the Sharingan literally feeds on the user's heartbreak. As their hatred grows deeper, their eyes grow stronger. It creates this vicious cycle where their greatest weapon is essentially fueled by the worst days of their entire lives.
And this curse? It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It actually originated from a philosophical divide generations ago between the sons of the Sage of Six Paths. On one side, we have Indra's will, which prioritized strict self-reliance, martial power, and eventually just descended into pure hatred when his father passed him over for leadership. In stark contrast, we have Asura's will, prioritizing compassion, community love, and what would eventually evolve into the Hidden Leaf Village's foundational philosophy, the Will of Fire. This ancient rivalry completely shaped the tragic destiny of the Uchiha, pretty much casting them as the eternal, brooding rivals to the community-driven Senju clan.
Section 3. The Kagami Exception. Now, not every Uchiha fell victim to this dark cycle, which brings us to a truly fascinating historical outlier.
Enter Kagami Uchiha. This guy is living proof that the curse wasn't some absolute biological inevitability, at least not if an Uchiha had the will of fire burning in their heart. Even the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, and remember, Tobirama was famously, and often controversially, wary of the Uchiha clan and their volatile emotional instability, even he trusted Kagami implicitly. Kagami completely shattered the stereotype of the brooding, isolated Uchiha by dedicating his deep capacity for love entirely toward the protection of the broader village, rather than just siloing his loyalties within his own clan's compound.
Just tracking his short life, we see a warrior who built an incredible, enduring legacy. He was part of the very first generation of academy graduates, stepping into a brand new era of organized shinobi. He fought in the brutal First Shinobi World War as a key member of the elite escort unit, directly under Tobirama. And as a young adult, he consistently used his visual prowess to save the lives of his teammates, including future leaders like Danzo Shimura and Hiruzen Sarutobi. Tragically, he died prematurely at just 25 years old. But man, throughout his brief life, he consistently chose duty and camaraderie over isolation and bitterness.
And just think about the gravity of this quote from our source material. Kagami's direct descendant, Shisui, was feared internationally as Shisui of the body flicker. He effectively acted as an untouchable teleporter on the battlefield. I mean, entire enemy squads were ordered to literally flee on sight if they encountered him. Yet, Shisui himself openly admitted he was heavily outclassed by his ancestor. That just brilliantly illustrates that Kagami was both an absolute physical powerhouse and a profound moral anchor for his entire generation.
Section 4. Paranoia and Politics. But unfortunately, Kagami's fierce loyalty couldn't ultimately save his clan from the political machinations of his own former teammate, Danzo Shimura. Danzo's orchestrations were terrifying in their scale and ruthlessness. He founded the secretive Black Ops division known as Root to operate entirely outside the Hokage's oversight. He engaged in horrific bodily modification, working with Orochimaru to actually implant several harvested Sharingans into his own arm to stockpile extra lives. In a devastating betrayal, he attacked Shisui and stole his eye, right as Shisui was trying to use a peaceful mind-manipulating jutsu to stop an impending Uchiha coup. Basically, Danzo treated the Uchiha entirely like a ticking time bomb, leading to some of the darkest, bloodiest decisions in the village's history. But you know, it's really interesting. The fandom remains intensely divided on Danzo's true motives.
On one side of this intense debate, some argue that Danzo was a necessary evil. They view him as the ultimate anti-hero, someone making the agonizing, ruthless choices required to prevent a catastrophic civil war. The thought process is, if the Uchiha revolted, the village's defenses would totally crumble. Rival nations would immediately invade, and tens of thousands of innocent civilians would be slaughtered. So Danzo calculated that devastating cost and chose the brutal, logical option, eliminating the few to guarantee the survival of the many.
Conversely, the other side views Danzo as a deeply selfish, power-hungry saboteur. They argue that his supposedly pragmatic paranoia was really just a convenient cover for his own boundless ambition. I mean, by actively undermining Shisui's peaceful plan, hiding underground during massive enemy attacks on the village, and hoarding the Uchiha's sacred visual powers for his own body, Danzo essentially forced a self-fulfilling prophecy upon the clan. In this view, he didn't prevent a disaster at all. He deliberately engineered it to eliminate his political rivals and consolidate his own absolute power.
Section 5. Breaking the cycle. Regardless of who was strictly to blame, the Uchiha were nearly wiped out.
This immense loss leaves us wondering if their tragic narrative can ever truly be rewritten. And that leads to a massive generational shift. In the past, we had Itachi Uchiha, crushed beneath the weight of the curse, forced by circumstance and political pressure to slaughter his own family to maintain peace. He represents the ultimate sacrifice of the old system. But looking to the future, we have Naruto Uzumaki, an outsider who outright refused to let his rival, Sasuke Uchiha, succumb to the darkness. Through sheer stubborn understanding and humanity, characters like Naruto proved that even the deepest ancestral curses can actually be challenged. He redeemed Sasuke not with superior eye jutsu or lethal force, but with an unrelenting, unconditional friendship.
Which brings us to the present day, and a totally new paradigm. Sarada Uchiha represents the dawn of a completely different era. Unlike her brooding ancestors, she awakened her Sharingan not out of the trauma of watching someone die, but out of profound love and an intense, joyful desire to finally reunite with her father. Now, looking forward, the survivors of this clan carry the unprecedented potential to wield their immense, world-altering power without paying that agonizing, soul-crushing price of hatred.
So, I'll leave you to ponder this question as you reflect on the incredible, heartbreaking lore of the Uchiha. Has the curse of hatred finally been extinguished for good, or will the awesome power of the Sharingan always, eventually, demand a tragic price? Can true power ever really exist without pain in this world? It really is a testament to how rich, layered, and endlessly fascinating this story is. Thanks for exploring this amazing source material with me today on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.